Our state now is become a Goliath. It's too big. It interferes too much in all our aspects of our lives. It wants to control us. It wants to direct how we live. Now, of course, we need a state, and there's certain things in the society in a country that the state must do. But our state now is just it's just this huge blob. I've worked for the government for 10 years. I've seen it. Does Advance UK want to reduce the size of the state and the interference it has in our lives?
So we've discussed the first principle on which Advance UK was founded. The second principle is freedom. And if you go to our mission statement and read it on the website, you'll see that under freedom, we obviously talk about freedom of speech, but we also address the ever increasing size of our state and its interference in our lives. And one of the reasons, again, I think that we have a problem with understanding who we are as a country is because the state has intervened so fundamentally into our family lives that it's set asunder our sense of belonging as families. So, for example, I was absolutely shocked when Jeremy Hunt, as Chancellor, increased the scope for childcare, state-sponsored childcare, down to 9 months of age for babies. That he was advocating mums and or fathers, if they're the ones looking after their child, go back into the workplace when they've effectively still got a baby, and 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 that baby would then be put into the care of the state. And that's what the state's doing. And so also under our principle for freedom is the removal of the indoctrination of our children. What we need the state to do is recognize that it has some fundamental obligations, security, being at the heart of it, stopping boats coming into the country, for example, making sure that we've got a military that's capable of defending the country, demonstrably and self-evidently capable of defending the country, and so on, some fundamental public services, etc. But what we don't want it doing is micromanaging our lives and telling us how we live every moment and every day. And indeed, through the ever increasing size of the state and its largesse, effectively buying off the electorate. We talk about the size of the welfare state. That is effectively, putting it in a different way from a political perspective, is the government buying off the electorate, chucking money at the electorate to say, please vote for us. And so it should come as no surprise that we've got a record 7.7 million people on benefits at the moment, out of a working population of 31 million. And then having put these people on benefit by allowing welfare to become so out of control and funding that by taxing the honest, hardworking people of this country to the hilt, so that it becomes less attractive to work, they then justify, well, 7.7 million people in this country ain't working. We better bring in more immigrants because the economy needs it. And so they've ended up in a spiral, which is the opposite of what they should be doing. The increasing size of the state is actually deeply damaging the country. And what we need to do, the way to understand it most easily is dependency has replaced aspiration. A sense of can do has been replaced with can't do unless the government wants it to happen. We've lost a sense of personal agency. And if you lose personal agency and aspiration, you actually are not going to be a very happy person because you've got no control over your destiny. Life becomes deeply depressing, which of course then allows the state to have even greater influence on you because you're effectively depressed. And of the 7.7 million people on benefits, 3 million of them, Nick, are there for mental health issues. Now, some of them, I'm sure, are malingerers. I'm sure there's some people who are genuinely suffering from mental health issues, but there will be many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, who are malingering. But to the extent that we've got mental health issues in our country, I'm sure it's also a function of the way the state's been governing by removing the sense of what's the best feeling in the world. The best feeling in the world is having something to look forward to. It's not actually having it in your grasp. It's having something to look forward to and believing that you can bring it into your grasp. That is aspiration. And we've got to get aspiration back into the system. That's the first thing. And then from an economic perspective, because people need to know that they can improve their own prosperity, they need to know that there's a chance of doing it. We've got to move away from wealth redistribution to wealth creation. And one of the I mean, I was a great fan of Thatcher's, and we can talk about Thatcher if we got many things wrong. But one thing that she got absolutely right was understanding aspiration must replace dependency. And she also totally understood that the socialist redistribution of wealth cannot work because eventually you run out of other people's money. And because it is other people's money that you're using. And we've seen, thousands of millionaires and entrepreneurs and capable people leave this country over the last few years, while we've seen them replaced with unskilled, cheap migrants from countries that, uh, basically have cultures and systems that are totally antipathetic to the United Kingdom. And so all of these things are linked, if you see what I mean, Nick. And so absolutely, as far as freedom is concerned, the state needs to be slashed. We need to burn the state back. The civil service needs to be scaled right back. We need to put power back in the hands of the people. And we need to allow people to do that which they wish to with their lives, with the hard-earned income that they've earned, and allow them to keep it. So I think part of the fight back against mass migration, by the way, and and giving liberty to the British people is by cutting back the welfare state, reducing taxes on small and medium-sized businesses, reducing taxes on the working class, reducing taxes on people who are married, reducing taxes on people who are married and procreate, reducing taxes on people who are married, procreate, and then one of the spouses stays at home. Give people the tools and the incentives with which they will reestablish their families and therefore the grassroots of our constitutional existence. Give them those tools, give them the belief that they can improve their lot, and everything will come right. We've got to get the United Kingdom working again for the British people. And the only way to do that is to get the state out of the way.
I've spent 2 decades working in the most deprived areas of Greater Manchester. And I've seen this firsthand. I've seen firsthand, again, with family and friends as well. With the best intentions, the welfare state strips people of self-respect, aspiration, their own dreams, and they leave them as just a shell of a person. I would change the name of our welfare. I would call it state charity. And I think that would go part of the way to make people understand you're not on benefits. You're not getting housing benefit. You get state charity to pay those bills. We need to start telling people what it is, state charity.
Yeah.
The other thing I say to people all the time, we go, but Nick, people will make mistakes. People can't look after themselves. People don't know how to run their own lives. And to a certain extent, yeah, that's true, but we can change that. But the point I try to make is people may make mistakes and their lives may go wrong. But the best thing about them making the mistake is they can correct that mistake themselves. If you hand over all your power to the state and the state's incompetent and the state will make mistakes, how do you change those mistakes when an external force has imposed those mistakes on you? You can't change it.
You just become flotsam bobbing around in the sea, hoping that you'll be all right. And it's deeply depressing. Yeah.
It is. I mean, the people I've spoken to, they're not lives. They're just surviving. We've ripped the dreams and the aspirations out of so many communities and so many people, and they're dead behind their eyes. And it's such a shame because the vast majority of them are not stupid. They can achieve. They can be successful in whatever field they want to be, and they need to judge success themselves. It's not for someone else to judge. Your job's not a successful job. Well, no, if you're paying taxes and you're bringing up a family, well, your job is a successful job. That's how we should rate people.